Yeah. Yeah. Quinn's an amazing school. We're about 153 years old,
Mm.
founded by the AME Church, originally founded in Austin, Texas. Then we moved to Waco, and we've been at our Dallas location since the early 90s. And we're sub 1,000 students, so small campus. And so part of my vision is a little easier to accomplish, I know, because we have a smaller campus. But what I find fascinating is just the entrepreneurship nature of the school, right? What I find fascinating is if you were trying to build a school from the ground up, and this was something the president and the board thought about a few years ago. I said, if we were just starting from zero, what would we do to help our students achieve their dreams? I think one of the most fascinating things that they did was they looked at the cost center and said, all right, where are we losing money? What's not adding value? And I'm going to remind the listeners that we're located in Dallas, Texas. And as they looked at the school and said, all right, what do we need to cut so we can accomplish our big goals? The first thing they cut was our football program.
Right.
You don't
in
cut
Dallas,
football
Texas.
in Texas.
Right.
And so really bold. And part of the reason was we weren't that good, unfortunately. And to run a football program is really, really expensive, right? And so it wasn't allowing us to accomplish some of the other dreams we had. And what's fascinating today is that the same place, the football field, we have now turned that into a garden, an urban garden. And one of our claims to fame is that we actually provide food for the Dallas Cowboys on game day through our urban garden. Right.
Wow.
So it's a fascinating school. We do things really differently. Another thing I'll add about the school, then I'll go into the entrepreneurship program, is that we have a corporate work program. And so we really looked at the data. The data says that 70% of all students work while they're in college. But most of these jobs don't provide much value, right? They're working part-time at the 7-Eleven, not to call out a 7-Eleven, but they're working at jobs that
pizza
really...
for me. Yeah.
Right. I was delivering pizza, right?
Yeah.
So these aren't jobs that really help you think about or related to your major, right? And so we started saying, well, how could we do that better? And so we started reaching out to different corporate partners in and around Dallas. And we started building internships for our students so that they could have real work experience related to their major. Right?
Yeah.
And then the next thing they did is said, well, now we have students in these really amazing companies, right? The AT&Ts, the Southwest, like really, Dallas, Texas is like home of the Fortune 500 companies. So we have some amazing internships. But then we looked and said, this is great. Now students have a job. What if we could help students create jobs? And so that opened up a whole new world for us. And in addition, we had employers saying to us, what we really want is we want students who could think and act entrepreneurially, right? So when they're presented with a problem, how do they go about approaching that problem? How do they come up with creative solutions? So the marketplace was telling us that they wanted a different type of student. And so when I show up with this idea of, I want to create something where every student starts a business, it's like, oh my God, you were answering sort of the prayers that we had. And so that's what we're doing now. We're building this curriculum through our entrepreneurship department where it's every student, regardless of major, has to start and operate a business. And we don't do that. There aren't solo businesses. In fact, every business that starts has to have at least a co-founder. And that's just to make sure that we're not creating kind of these mom and pop shops. My big idea is to have students dream really big, but we are having every student that enters Paul Quinn as a graduation requirement, they have to start and operate a business.
What are some of the businesses that have been started?
Yeah, we're just second semester into the program now. And so the way it works is they show up on campus for the first summer. This is all in real time. So last summer, they showed up and we were kind of just pressure testing ideas. The incoming class was about 150, 160 students, right? So small incoming class. And so they join up in groups. They start thinking through ideas. We pressure test, and we'll say, "Oh, that's maybe an inkling of an idea." And so we go back and forth on the ideas, and the ones that are really good that we think we can generate some momentum within the next year, those rise to the top. And then we say, "Okay, for the fall semester, we're going to build these out. We're going to start going to the marketplace, doing research, and seeing if there's actually something there." And so where we are now is there are a couple ideas that have risen to the top. Two that have really risen that have really big groups behind them is one is a beauty brand. A young lady who's running this is called Gloss Gone. And she had this fascinating concept. And it's really around, she said lip gloss often stains your clothes when it's in your purse. And I told her, I said, what's fascinating about that is I've never had that problem. So I would not know that was an issue.
Yeah.